Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 34.
Yeah.
It's a good one tonight, Mike. How are you?
Hello, Vin. I am back.
I know. How was your
vacation? Missed you.
Yeah, good vacation?
Had a great vacation.
Did you go swimming?
I did not go swimming.
Was it swimming weather?
Borderline.
Okay. Right.
Borderline.
Right. Yeah. But you didn't go to a place that would signify swimming.
Well,
like more relaxing.
More relaxing, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Me and Andrew were talking about your pickleback shots on the last episode.
I just looked at that, and by looking at it, I wanted to throw up because I'm like,
some bad memories.
Bad memories, and I'm just like, there is nothing appealing about putting pickle juice into Jaeger. And whoever came up with that, I like to interview them on the show. Because it's so gross. So gross.
Oh, it's some tough nights out there, I'll tell you that.
Woo.
That's for sure. Well, Vin and Mike is now brought to you by Viggy Bets. Check out Viggy Bets on Twitter and Instagram at Viggy Bets. And now this fall, he's got some special prices there, Viggy Bets. For a week, it's $5.99. For a month, it's $9.99. And for the whole year, it's $99.99. And you get a 2-day free trial with the year pass. If it was me, I think I would go for the month, especially where we are now, and get a few of those college football bets in, a few of those NFL, see how you do. Especially for $10, and if it pans out well for you, if you made a few dollars, then you could jump into another month, or you could jump into for the year at that point, because at least that takes you into next year through baseball season, next year basketball season, the whole thing at that point. But some good prices there. I got $5.99 for the week, $9.99 for the month, and then $99.99 for the year. So
that is a good deal.
Right?
I like the options for that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. We were supposed to have let's see. I think he got podcast confused. I don't know. He said it was 5 p.m. Pacific time now. He's a little confused. I don't know.
What happened?
I don't know. He's saying all these other things about podcasts, and I think they're all confused over there at the Cowboys Can Fam. They don't know what podcast they're going on tonight. But if he does join, we'll throw Alex Johnson from Cowboys Can Fan up to talk a little bit Cowboys football. We can see the fans of the Cowboys, the disarray they're in, and we can understand the Jerry Joneses of the world and why they haven't, touched a Super Bowl since 1996. It was, right? I think it's the last time Super Bowl, 95, something like that.
I can't laugh. I have the Jets.
I'm a Raiders fan. We're in the same situation, but it is what it is. We'll see if he jumps on. If he does, we'll put him right in. We'll talk Cowboys football. But with all of that being said, let's start with the NFL, since in case he jumps in, and then we can just hover over. Figured I saw it today, and I figure I'll get your insight. We talked about it at length and a lot and all this stuff, but Baker is officially the starting quarterback in Carolina. Right. And I think it was something we expected, and it's probably the end of the Sam Darnold reign as a starting quarterback in the NFL, unless something else happens. But you figure, you as a Jets fan, and the whole thing with Baker that we were talking about all off season and continue to talk about, especially, we'll probably dive a little into the Watson and all that as well. But get some of your thoughts, Baker, Darnold, the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, no surprise. Between him and Darnold, I really thought Baker was going to win that battle. I think most people thought that way. I'm happy for him. I think that he got the short end of the stick in Cleveland with everything that was going on over there. And again, this was a guy who got them into the playoffs. This was the future of that team. And now he's got a chance to really do that with the Panthers. He's got a great running back in Christian McCaffrey. He's got Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. I mean, there's definitely potential over there. So again, I think that it's really like many quarterbacks. They're the people that really drive their organization, their team. A lot of it falls into their hands, and we'll see what kind of leader Baker Mayfield is. On the other side with Sam Darnold, hopefully he'll have the respect of being a backup, or hopefully he can find another team just like Baker did and try to lead them too, because I do think he's talented. I do think there's definitely some improvements, obviously, with his game, but this comes to no surprise, Vinny, as I'm sure you would agree with.
Yeah, they didn't make that trade to have Baker as the backup.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't make any sense. They lost the kid they drafted, Matt Corral, I think for the year. He's got a real serious Liz Frank injury. So there was nothing else that was going to play into Baker not getting that position. Not that Corral was going to win the job anyway. I think he was more of a project for them to begin with. But I find it interesting how Sam Darnold's career has gone. I think as a Jets fan that you are, when he first drafted him, I think a lot of Jet fans felt that he slipped to 3, that, the expectation was he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. And Saquon Barkley was definitely mentioned as being the guy the Giants were going to take at number 2. And the Jets moved up into that 3rd spot, expecting to take another quarterback, which there was rumors that it was going to be Baker Mayfield, that, they would try to move up and get up to that number 2 position to still try to get Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen at the time. But ultimately, Darnold slipped there to 3. And I think Jet fans were ecstatic at the time. I think you guys thought you had your future franchise quarterback. And now we're here in 2022, and Zach Wilson is now the guy that's your future franchise quarterback that's coming off that surgery, which seems everything's went well with the surgery and everything.
Yes.
So what are you thinking about good old Zach as we start moving into this football season?
Before I get into that, just one other thing about Sam Darnold. From what I was reading, that as soon as that was announced, as you said, Vinny, I mean, they didn't make that trade for Baker Mayfield's health. They knew what they wanted. But what I was told was after that announcement, Darnold expressed his support for him, was a consummate professional. And like I said, crazy things have happened. You never know what's going to happen with Baker. You hope he stays healthy, but he has a really good attitude about it. And then with Zach Wilson, that injury, when I first saw it, Vinny, we talk about this, that we're not big fans of preseason. That night I actually planned on watching the Jets because of all the young players, but I got kind of sidetracked with it. And then I get all these text messages, oh my God, Zach Wilson, and then I looked at it and I watched the highlight, and I could have sworn from what I saw, I was so nervous that it was an ACL. And as you know, it's not. He's out 2 to 4 weeks. He should be back for opening day. When I went to that green and white game, I was very impressed with the way he was really passing the ball and running, his agility. I feel like he worked out a lot. He's in good shape. And now, finally, I think that the Jets have people around Zach Wilson that can make him successful, with additions of Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. Then you have Breece Hall as a running back, Elijah Moore. And Barrios, of course, is a wide receiver. They're a young team. I think they're missing some veteran players, but they're a very exciting team. And I think that with Zach Wilson healthy and him just having that kind of good attitude, that this Jets team can they could be a surprise. And I think a lot of people now It's funny. I was looking at the odds to win the Super Bowl, and I know the likelihood of the Jets getting there is very slim to none. However, their odds did improve. They were like at plus 20,000 at one point. Now they're plus like 12. Actually, 2,000, whatever, 20,000. Now they're 12,000. So they're getting some more respect from the media because of this fantastic draft that they had and the possibilities of this team. But they really got to get off to a good start the first 4 games. They do not have an easy schedule, but I'm cautiously optimistic. As you know, the Jets are my team. I will support them, and just excited about what the season can bring.
Yeah, they got their preseason game tonight, which seems like they're resting everybody, which doesn't surprise me. Our good friend of the show, who was one of our guests for people that have been paying attention to the show for a long time. He was originally out in Oregon. So if you listen to Antoine Staley being on with us when we talked about Kayvon Thibodeaux and Oregon football and Oregon basketball, because that's how long ago we spoke with him. He is now the Jets beat reporter at the New York Daily News.
So happy for him.
Yeah, we're really happy for him. You know, we'll try to have him on a future show to talk some Jets football. I know Mike is going to Cleveland in about a month, so maybe him and Antoine will get together and have some chatting. I don't know what you eat in Cleveland. What kind of food you eat up there?
Same as you would eat in New York, Vinny. It's not too different.
You mean they don't have like a specialty in Cleveland? No Cleveland pies or anything?
No, your typical bar food. No, it's nothing really. What did I have there? I think we just had bar food last night, burgers and wings.
That's all you had? Shocking.
Yeah, me? Yeah.
By the way,
yes.
my ADD is kicking in a little bit.
I couldn't tell.
What's on your hat? What's it say?
You see it?
The black something?
Pearl. It's a restaurant.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Isn't that the ship in Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't know, Vinny.
You and Johnny Depp hanging out there up on the island together?
He's my bro. Me and Jay Depp hanging out every week. Yeah.
By the way, talking about Oregon and Thibodeaux, did you see Randy Moss's son chop block Thibodeaux last night?
No, I missed that. Actually,
so they're calling it legal, that it's a legal hit. If you get a chance, take a look at it.
I'll watch it. Yeah,
he hits him pretty low. His knee bends in a little bit to the left, the right knee, and just it started looking bad. But again, good news on the New York front. It's a MCL sprain, no tears, no meniscus damage, no damage as far as the ligaments themselves.
Right.
They're saying it could take 3 weeks because of the bruising and all the stuff with the sprain itself and all that. But you know, you look at these blocks, and again, this is when I talk about preseason,
right?
And why guys aren't playing, why teams don't want to play these guys. Here's your first pick in the draft. This is the guy that, you know, is your future pass rusher, you know, big time player that you drafted. Some people felt he was the best defensive player coming out of the draft. And you see that, I mean, you lose your mind when you see stuff like that. At least I was like, wow, this is just too much. Like watching Thibodeaux get chop blocked like that.
Yeah, we've talked about this. You're putting a huge risk, even with Zach Wilson, like him scrambling like that, right? Just go out of bounds. It's preseason. I understand you got to get these guys ready, but you got to be extra cautious in the preseason. And that's why I hate preseason. I hope we've talked about this, Vinny, that I hope they add a game to the season and delete like a preseason game. Like, let's just, you know, you want to get to your season.
Well, like even Aaron Rodgers said, it doesn't make sense for him to play one series because you don't get into rhythm. You don't really get a lot of throws. It's not even worth it for him to be out there for one series. If he wants to be out there, he wants to be out there for 3 or 4 series, a quarter.
Right.
But at that point, you don't want your franchise quarterback in a preseason game, especially with young kids that are trying to make teams that want to make a point that they could get to the quarterback. They want to sack the quarterback. They want to hit the quarterback. They want to make a good play intercepting the quarterback. Like anything that comes down to them being able to show that they deserve to be in the NFL, they're going to do their hardest. And I think that's great for them. But you got to keep the guys that you know or the franchise that are going to be the starters as safe as you can. And I think that's always extremely, extremely important, especially, the amount of injuries that you've seen through the years and just the injuries that could happen in practice. I remember Teddy Bridgewater blew that one knee out on the sidelines in Vikings practice that year. He lost 2 years of his NFL career. It took him a long time to get back, and now he's a backup, out there in Denver. But still, at least his career was able to revive. But it's all these things, that you worry about with all these franchise guys. And I think you're right. When you see Zach make that cut back, why are you doing that? Remember when Jimmy Garoppolo, even in that game, he could have just ran out of bounds and he decided to throw his shoulder into that linebacker and blew his knee out, and that was, in a game where he could have just stepped out of bounds. So it's, you've got to think about it, not only from a coaching perspective, I think from a player perspective, you got to take care of yourself, especially now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're Deshaun Watson, you get guaranteed $230 million, and it doesn't matter what happens. By the way, so this is what I heard today, and I think this goes back to when we spoke to Jason Bailey, and he had a little disdain for Cleveland. He was upset about the franchise itself, and they only were paying Watson $1 million of his salary this year, knowing that he probably was going to get suspended, potentially for the year, and that it wouldn't affect his bottom line, that, it's all backloaded, this contract. So this is basically now a 4-year, $229 million contract. This is over a $50 million a year deal. He loses out on $1 million this year. Well, he doesn't lose out on the full million, but he loses out on most of it. Gets a $5 million fine, which I'm glad the NFL hit his pocket a little bit, but still at the end of the day,
he made out like a bandit. Come on.
Holy cow. I mean, he's not losing any money.
No.
He's suspended for 11 games, which probably at the end of the day, when you look at the way these suspensions have been and everything, and no criminal charges, and I think that's a big thing, right? No crimes were committed. Now, whatever happened is what happened. So 11 games is probably much better than the 6, because we know there was a lot of other issues and a lot of other things going on, and there's just a lot of stuff. But ultimately, this guy, like you said, it's crazy, and he'll be back week 13 for them in the saddle. If they could stay close enough, they'll have a shot at the playoffs. I don't think they'll make it, because I think the AFC is tough, but it's just nuts when it all plays out.
Yeah, it is nuts. Like I said, he made out like a bandit in a way. Whatever act that was done benefited him monetarily. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So Cleveland, I mean, listen, even without him, I thought they would be competitive. They have a hell of an offensive line. I think the over-under for them, if I'm not mistaken, was 8.5. So, people are really leaning towards them as a possible playoff team, as you alluded to, Vinny. Now with, I think they're going to be one of those possible wild card teams. It's going to be close on the bubble. We'll see.
No, I agree. Let's see. Alex is not going to join us. He screwed up the time. He hoped he didn't ruin anything, and he wants to still come on. So,
all right. Alex, we forgive you.
We forgive you.
But
you're part. First of all, he is part of the Pigskin Podcast Network.
We got to forgive him.
So he is part of our team. Cowboys fan. They're Canadian guys that love the Cowboys. They're it's big up there for them in Canada because the NFL isn't as big in Canada as it is in the United States. Especially there's no real Cowboy fans in Canada because Jerry Jones has banned all Canadians from coming into Dallas. I don't know if you knew that.
You're so bad. Now, speaking of real quick,
that's not true. Just so everyone knows,
you're ridiculous.
But yeah, it'll be good. I'll talk to him later and
we'll reschedule.
We'll reschedule.
What I was going to say, speaking of Canadian football, did you know the Argonauts, Canadian football, that John Candy and Wayne Gretzky, they own that? Did you know that? That they
originally when they signed, who did they sign? Rakib Ishmael from Notre Dame? Was he the guy that was?
I think that was around the timeline, but it was just really cool to have those guys as owners. I read about it. Real cool.
Yeah. Well, that's when we had Lori on and we were talking about ownership in NASCAR. Michael Jordan owns a team and Pitbull owns a team and Emmitt Smith owns like one of the lesser franchises. And Brad Daugherty has been an owner in NASCAR for forever. Like he's one of the announcers on NBC. He's bigger into NASCAR than he ever was into basketball, and this guy was a professional basketball player.
When I think of Brad Daugherty, I just have to laugh. When I was a little kid, I got this Michael Jordan video, and it was the '89 playoffs, and it's when Jordan Game 5 against the Cavs, and that's when Jordan dribbled it to the foul line and hit the shot, and they had Brad Daugherty commentate after. It's just like. He had dreams of it, just like he kept reliving that moment of the Cavs and Bulls. I mean, it's just and the Cavs. There's a team that was overshadowed. They had some great teams. The Cavs, Mark Price, Daugherty. I mean, they had some really quality teams.
Yeah, Larry Nance.
But again, getting by those Bulls was just
the Michael Jordan effect.
And
again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And I just want to bring it up before we hit our DraftKings commercial and start talking some Yankees and Mets.
Sure.
Which I thought was an amazing stat that we talked about when it came to Michael Jordan. He played in 82 regular season games. That means every single game during the regular season on 9 different seasons. I mean, to me, that is just one of the best stats you'll see for him when it comes to his ability to be on the court all the time, right? I mean, that's just unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
You look at everyone else that was part of that list, they're not even close to him. There's not a guy that's close to him at that level that played every single game every year. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I remember early in his career, I think it was his second season, he was out for most of the year.
Yeah, he broke his foot.
But then he came back against the Celtics in the playoffs.
Right.
Scores 63 points. And you just knew, this guy's special.
Yeah.
And who does that, right?
Yeah.
But like we said about the NBA real quick.
Yeah.
This is why Michael Jordan has such a great legacy. Because from 84 to 91, he built that Bulls team up. They built it on different players, and they were able to get past the Pistons and the Lakers and the Celtics, and he worked for that every step of the way. And then when you put in that other stat about playing all 82 games, it's just incredible. That really defines his competitive nature. He always wanted to win. Winning was everything.
Yeah.
So that's a winner.
At every single level of basketball, that guy was just unbelievable. Everything he's done for the sport and everything. It's just we can have a whole show just talking about Michael Jordan.
I know you got to do the promo, but real quick, what you say The Last Dance and the Derek Jeter? Don't you think that the captain and The Last Dance very similar kind of individuals and what they did for their teams and how they emulated themselves, their personalities throughout their careers, I would say it's somewhat similar in what we saw in The Last Dance and The Captain. These are guys that really kind of stood out of the media's eyes, and they just focused on winning. And now that they did these documentaries, you're hearing really cool stuff about how about their careers.
I think when you look at the greats in their sports, and whichever way you quantify greatness, right, which is winning or individual greatness, there's a lot of similarities to the personalities of those guys, the way that they handle their business, playing their sport. I think that's the one thing that you learn as time goes on, that all these guys have similarities, and their work ethic of getting themselves ready to play the game. These guys worked extremely hard all the time to just get better. I thought Paul O'Neill, and maybe we'll talk about it after the commercial, because Paul O'Neill, but he said some interesting things. But we'll get to that in a second. Football fans, join the next generation of fantasy football with Rainmakers Football, their first ever NFT fantasy game from DraftKings. It's the only NFT fantasy game licensed by the NFLPA. Now you can play all season for millions in prizes by building the ultimate NFT franchise. Right now, everyone can get their first full roster starter pack for free. Playing Rainmakers is simple. You buy, sell, bid, and win player card NFTs of the biggest names in the game through regular drop and auctions on DraftKings Marketplace. Craft lineups of athletes from your NFT collection and earn points for touchdowns, receptions, and more, just like daily fantasy football. Build your NFT franchise and enter a free Rainmakers football contest all season long to compete for millions in prizes. The next generation of fantasy sports is here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now. Sign up with promo code TPPN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in to get your first card free. Plus, play for millions in prizes all football season while building the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN. Build, play, win only at DraftKings. Contest entries dependent on type and number of NFTs held. Eligibility restrictions applied. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details. So I do have my free packs. I got my stuff. I'm going to play one of their NFT games when I get my shot. We also have on DraftKings, we have our Vin and Mike Fantasy Football League. So $5 a person. Anybody that wants to play on Sunday, it's just $5. You pick your lineup, you go and you play, and the amount of entrants we have is what the prizes pay out. And then every week it resets. You draft a new lineup. If you don't want to play one week, you want to play another, it's all up to you, but it'll be up there all season long for us. I'll be playing all season long against a lot of people and just taking all your money. So, it'll be fun for me. And then we have our suicide pool also on DraftKings. So I will post that on our Instagram and Twitter, where you can get the link and go in there, sign up. That's a $20 suicide pool. For people that don't know how that works, you pick one team every week. You only can pick that team once the season. If they win, you advance. If they don't win, you lose. So at the end of the season, if one winner is left over at any time, they win the entire pot, and that pot is dependent on the amount of entries we have and things like that. So those are all out there also on DraftKings. So we're excited about all that as well. So.
And just a side note, everybody, Vinny told me that he is picking the Raiders week 1. He believes in his team, and he'll be choosing the Raiders week 1.
Week 1, I'm taking Raiders in one pool and the Jets in my other.
There you go. That's a winning combo.
I'm ready to go.
Parlay it.
Well, hey, listen, I don't have to pick them again after that, so I'm good.
There you go.
So
you were talking about Paul O'Neill before, so please, that ceremony was, it really was amazing.
So one of the things Paul O'Neill said was about hitting, right? And that when he was really on a roll is when he worked harder at the cage to continue to keep up that pace, because he would see some other guys would start getting going and not try to keep up that pace, and he felt that was the time to really step it in gear to like keep it up, because you're on this roll and you want to keep that hot streak going and continue to hit. So I found that kind of interesting in that he actually worked harder when things were better, which is like real interesting when you hear that, right?
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, it was really nice to see number 21 retired. Jack Curry was talking about how it bothered him through the years when other players would get 21. And, he wouldn't really say it publicly, but he would, say it, I'm guessing, to friends and everything, that, that number meant a lot to him, an awful lot to him. It meant so much to him, if you remember, that 21 won the Kentucky Derby this year, and Paul O'Neill was on record saying that he did bet the 21 horse, which ended up being, as we know, a very big payout. But it was nice to see him out there. The memories that he brings to Yankee fans. You forget that he won a World Series with the Reds in 1990. So it's a guy that won multiple World Series throughout his career, was on winning teams early in his career, came to the Yankees at a pretty bad time, which we've talked about, the Roberto Kelly trade, but was really the start of that entire core of great players that they brought in, and starting in 96 and then put around them, and then brought up the young guys like Jeter and Mariano and Pettit and Posada eventually, and bringing Tino over in a trade and having Chuck Knobloch. You could go on and on and on, but he was there, when it was bad, when Don Mattingly embraced him. He spoke very highly of Don Mattingly through the years, like everyone does that's ever come to the Yankees. And he really was, as George Steinbrenner said, the warrior. And that was just the way he played the game. He played very hard all the time. He was a lunatic. I never seen a guy smash the amount of Gatorade buckets that he did. I never seen a guy constantly practice hitting while he's standing there in right field, but ultimately was part of those great Yankee teams of the late 90, early 2000 run. And it was nice to finally see his number 21 be retired.
Yeah, I have a couple comments on that. Don Mattingly, when he spoke, he couldn't be at the actual ceremony, so he was on the video, Tron in the back, and he said, "Greatest Yankee trade since Babe Ruth." If that's not the ultimate compliment, I don't know what is. And you're right, Vinny. He came at a time where the Yankees were struggling. He had a manager, Buck Showalter, I have the utmost respect with. And he was one of the main keys, him alongside with Bernie Williams and others, just really getting to Yankees where they were. He is the warrior. I loved they told the story in the 2001 World Series that they were just cheering his name because they knew it was going to be his last game. And the crowd was so they loved him, because New York fans love people with grit who play hard every night. And that's what Paul O'Neill did. He's another person. He just wanted to win. He really he did everything he could to get his team to the next level. And it was an awesome ceremony. It was great seeing Mariano, Andy Pettit, those guys. It just brought back a lot of memories. And luckily for that ceremony, I said to myself, well, the Yankees have to win today, because it would be horrible if they lost for Paul O'Neill Day, and they had to get back on track. So I'm glad they won, which will hopefully motivate them to play hard against the Mets, and we'll see. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting, where this team goes tonight and tomorrow night. But it was good to see them finally win a game.
Yeah.
It's been very tough. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go into a little rant here because Garrett Cole wanted to, fight the guy that hit Aaron Judge yesterday with the pitch. You know what? I don't need Garrett Cole to do that. I need him to pitch. I need him to go out there and be an ace. I don't need him to be an enforcer and get angry and try to do things that are, oh, I'm a great teammate. Well, you know what? I don't care. I want you to go out there and pitch like you're making $36 million a year, which you are, and give me 8 innings of 1-run ball and get some wins for us when we need it. Don't give me 4 innings of shutout, no-hit baseball, and then blow the game in the 5th inning because you got to have 1 bad inning every game. This is like nonstop with this guy, and I'm tired of it. And this is the guy that's supposed to be our ace and taking us to the next level in those kind of games. And at this point, I don't have confidence that he's going to win a big game for us. And I need him to focus on winning a big game for us in the next 2 months here. I don't know if that sticky stuff had anything to do with his overall performance, spider tack, whatever you want to call it. But at this point, everybody's on the same playing field. Everyone's got the same grip on the ball. There's no difference if you're using it or not. He's still throwing the ball 99 miles an hour, so it didn't do anything to improve his speed. Maybe improved his slider or whatever, but I don't care at this point. Yeah. You're paid $36 million a season for another, I think it's another 6 years to be our ace. You got to go out there and do something. And don't be jumping over the dugout and want to fight another pitcher because Aaron Judge got hit. Aaron Judge can definitely take care of himself. I think a guy that's 6'7", 280 has got no issues being able to take care of himself. So, get back in the dugout and figure out how you're going to pitch better than trying to fight somebody on the other team.
How do you think Aaron Boone addressed that, if anything? Do you think Aaron Boone maybe?
I don't know if you heard his comments. He'd say, oh, he's just being a teammate and, we want to make sure our guys aren't getting intentionally hit. Well, he's not going to throw his player under the bus. But, there's people out there that are like myself, and I don't know how you felt about it, but I want you to pitch. I don't care that you want to go out there and defend Aaron Judge. Maybe if you were 16-3 and winning games when we needed you to win, then I would support you being out there to help them. At this point, I don't care. You didn't impress me. I don't care if you're a good teammate or what you are. Go out there and win some games. And maybe Aaron Hicks can get a hit when the bases are loaded. Instead of grounding into 15 double plays like he has and ruining every single rally that we've had in the last 19 games. Or Gleyber Torres, who hits a home run once in a while, but the other time strikes out when there's people on base and looks lost every time he's up there. This is the issue with this team.
Yeah, that's the other big aspect. It's the pitching. You could pitch the best game, but without bats, you're not going to win anything. This is a team that went from averaging 5.3 runs a game before the All-Star break, and now maybe averaging 3.2. That's a huge decline. A huge decline.
The last 11 games before yesterday, they had the stat up there. They scored 21 runs in 11 games.
And that was the worst since 1990.
Right.
And we know what happened in 1990. They were awful.
You were watching Mel Hall and Jesse Barfield.
That's right. Those were the teams that you were watching. That's right.
But you're right. It's ridiculous at this point. And I get it. It was good to see Benintendi finally hit a home run in Yankee Stadium. I think that'll benefit him, as the kind of player he is. I need him to continue hitting. I need some of these other guys to hit. LeMahieu looks like he's been coming on a little bit. Now, Rizzo gets a lot of clutch hits. I don't really get too crazy there. Stanton is in rehab assignment. We need him back.
Right. And that's been longer than we thought. But as you said, Vinny, that there's still plenty of time left.
Yeah.
To get yourself going. But now's the time to do it. You know what? This Subway Series, I know it's only 2 games. You're facing DeGrom and Scherzer. And this is something where you really have to say, And it was important the Yankees won yesterday because they got to make something of it. Paul O'Neill was saying the other day that in '95, when they made the wild card, they lost. They were playing terrible, and then all of a sudden, towards the end of the season, they picked it up and gained momentum. Well, now's the time to do it. You won the game yesterday. It was a home run that was needed. It was Paul O'Neill Day. How do you come out tonight? I'm very curious.
Well, there's 74 and 48, so that puts them exactly at 40 games to go, right? So, right, 122. I mean, you can't play 20 and 20 baseball. You can't go, 94 wins. To me, that's not acceptable over the next 40 games. They got to get back to 100 wins. 100 wins means they went 26 and 14 down the stretch here, and everybody's feeling good. They went 4 and 14. They're 5 and 14 now in August. They're awful. I mean, that is just terrible.
And you have to give me evidence that you could beat the Astros. You have to give me evidence that you could beat the Mets. And I don't see anything of that right now. And yeah, they won yesterday, but you have to start playing consistent baseball again like you were before the All-Star break. They need that spark. I understand you're missing Stan. That's fine. That's one element. And he's going to help significantly when he comes back. But that's not the only piece. The Matt Carpenter injury hurts, but these bats have to come back.
And this Frankie Montas better start pitching too.
Right.
They made this big deal about us not getting Castillo. I'm reading this whole thing today that we offered Dominguez and this one and that one. And you know what? It's over with. We have Montas. We gave up 2 pretty good pitchers for him, a high level prospects in that, right? So I expect him to come in there and start winning games for us.
Right. He's
got good stuff. I saw it. He's just got to put it together, and we need him to be the guy to really start rolling. Severino, we know will be back in another couple of weeks here, so we hope that he continue to. And Nestor's just continue to be good. He was good again yesterday. He continues to be good, and that's really what we need. But ultimately, we need Garrett Cole to be an ace because that's what we pay him for. Yeah. And we need Gleyber Torres and Hicks and somebody in those bottom of that lineup to start driving in runs when the top 4 or 5 guys are having tough nights. It's a team game. So everybody's got to contribute across the board. So when Aaron Judge is not the only guy driving in runs, other guys have got to step up there and do something. And that's what's happening right now. It's teams are pitching around Judge and telling the Yankees, "Guys, beat us with whatever else you got." And whatever else we got right now wasn't doing it. Finally, Benintendi hit a big home run yesterday.
Yes.
So that's what we need to continue to see. We need those big clutch hits. We don't have to score 10 runs a game. We need to score one more run than the other team is put out there, and that's what we need.
The other struggle is, again, leaving your players leaving your players on the bases. They're not driving in runs. They'll have one out. They'll have people are second and third, and they're not driving in runs. So that's been a huge issue. You're right. The hits have to come at the right time. 100%. Yeah. On the other side, you have a Mets team that they're playing tonight that's in first place right now, 4 games ahead of the Braves. But the Braves have been playing outstanding baseball, 8-2 in the last 10 games. And right now, again, this series with the Yankees is so important for them too, because the Braves are playing a lowly Pirates team right now that they should probably sweep that series. So as well as the Mets been playing, the Braves are right there still. They're not really gaining. They haven't really gained any ground of how well they're playing. So we'll see what happens with that. I've been so impressed with the Mets, though. Impressed with their pitching, impressed with their bullpen, the hitting. Buck Showalter is truly a player's manager. I have really no complaints about them. They're really playing well right now. Scherzer and Rob been fantastic. Bassett, I mean, they're a team that has all around, just all around. They're playing so well right now.
My big concern would be, and it's my only concern for the Mets, is when you're gonna go play the Braves and the Dodgers in these short series, and we know Scherzer and we know DeGrom, we know Bassett are all going to do what they have to do. But are they going to have enough hitting to come through when the Braves pitching, the Dodgers pitching is at the same level, and all that is going on as well? So that would be my only concern. But I think Pete Alonso, I think Lindor, I think Marte, those are the guys that are doing it. I like the trade that, I don't know if, Vogelbach getting Darren Ruff to, solidify that DH position a little bit. I think they have enough there. Edwin Diaz has had a phenomenal year. He's looked like, the best reliever in baseball. So in these short series, that's the only concern you get, because we know the Braves and the Dodgers are going to be there. They're going to be right there. You hope the Mets win the division. They get that bye. That bye actually becomes a big deal for them, because it'll set up the pitching perfectly for them, right? You go Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett, and you really put yourself in a really good position to start moving forward. And ultimately, I think it's Dodgers, Mets in the National League, and then it's going to be who's going to be the best in the 7-game series.
Right.
The Dodgers lost Walker Buehler for the year. Kershaw, I'm not sure where he's going to be when it comes down to it. So there are two real big pitchers in those situations, aren't there? Yes, they have a lot of guys that are pitching well. They have a huge lineup from Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and everybody else that's in that lineup. But I think the Mets, if they can get that division and line themselves up nicely for the next round, I think you'll see, and I would expect the Dodgers to win the next round as well. I think it's going to make a nice NLCS. And that's where I want to see the Yankees get to as well. Get themselves in place, set it up, win that round, and then get themselves ready to play the Astros in the ALCS. And that would be exactly what's exciting for baseball, exciting for New York. I think that's what everybody would love to see. That's a non-Braves or any of the other teams that are going to make the playoffs fans. But I think as baseball fans, those are the matchups that everybody's been thinking about all season already, and I think we're headed that way. As long as the Yankees can turn it around again, and you need those two big pitchers on the Mets to stay healthy. That's the other concern, right? When it comes down to it, is that the health for DeGrom more than Scherzer is big at this point, and he's looked unbelievable so far. So we'll see if it continues.
Yeah. Is it me, or I feel that as far as like the marketing in baseball this year, and there's been discussions, we've discussed this briefly in the past and just discussing with others how baseball was always America's pastime, but we know the viewership has decreased over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like this year, for some reason, and maybe because we're on the podcast and we talk about it every week, but I feel there's more excitement with baseball as a whole. And, I'm not sure why. Maybe because both New York teams are in first place.
I think that's
local.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like that as a whole, but I feel kind of, I don't know. There seems to be more of a more people are watching it. It's been marketed better. Am I crazy to say that?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I am.
Yeah. No, but I think you hit the nail on the head where both the Yankees and Mets are good. And when both New York teams are good, it's a lot of juice around here. There's a lot of Yankee and Met fans within 90 square miles, right? I mean, we talk about the amount of people that are within 90 square miles. You're talking, 1/10 of the country live in this 90-mile radius, which when you think about it, it's just insane with the amount of people, in a 100-mile radius. And then all those people are either Yankee or Met fans, one way or the other. So you just have a tremendous amount of people that are interested in New York sports. And that goes for the football teams, the basketball team, everything. So you're talking millions of people are really juiced up for the Yankees and Mets this time of year. And we're getting into September here. It's really getting even more exciting for both teams. I think more right now for the Mets than the Yankees. I think Yankee fans right now, like myself, are starting to lose it a little bit. But a good series.
But that could turn around after this series.
That's what I'm saying. A good series.
Good.
You beat Scherzer tonight. I think you look at it like it's money to go against DeGrom tomorrow. But you lose both these games 4-0, 5-0. You get 4 hits in both games. You feel like it's falling. Everything's collapsing again, right? The roof is falling off again. I mean, so you don't want that. But
I was just going to say.
Your point.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's very regionalized baseball.
Yeah,
baseball is a regionalized game. It's people in Atlanta get excited for the Braves. LA, they're excited for the Dodgers. Houston is that, but you don't get the excitement for baseball that the NFL has, right? Because the excitement for teams extends all throughout the United States. The followings that like the Pittsburgh Steelers have, the Dallas Cowboys have, right? This as a Jet fans, when those teams go into the Meadowlands and play, the Jets or the Giants, the amount of people that follow them, the amount of, fans of the Steelers and Cowboys and Packers even that travel, and it's just amazing. Yeah, and the Yankees travel. I think the Yankees are the one team, when you look at it, they travel. You see a lot of Yankee fans everywhere, but that's really the only team that probably does that. And and Aaron Judge is the face of baseball right now, so it's all that plays in it. But ultimately, baseball is more regionalized than what we see with the NFL.
Yeah, and I think also 2 things. One, I think also because I'm getting into this baseball card collecting thing, I'm just like a kid again, getting excited about it. So I probably made that comment. But the whole Aaron Judge thing, you're right. With the amount of home runs right now, but I look at it as people talk about it. But if that was something like an NFL record or something going on in the NBA, it'd be much more publicized.
Yeah, and again, it could be that it's not close right now, and ESPN really still drives a lot of sports, right? Like things that happen on ESPN are what's driving sports. So ESPN's going to drive that conversation eventually if he gets close, and they have the Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball before football season starts, right? Which is only a few weeks away. So there's a very small window now for that to be news. And eventually it's going to have to come down to Fox Sports and these other entities that have these games and other arenas, TNT and all that, to push it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But the problem is, once we start rolling here in September, the NFL takes over the entire sports world, and things just get moved to the, it's nice to see, it's nice to hear, but it gets moved to the back shelf. It's no longer up front and forward. We know the NFL is what everyone is looking forward to. Like we said 8 months ago, it's one of the reasons we wanted to do the podcast, right? We're excited about.
Has it been 8 months already?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 7 months too long.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that, we're going to have another sponsor in September, which we'll talk about that maybe more next week when we get some more details. So that's on the horizon as part of the network. DraftKings has been with us since we've joined the network, so that's exciting. Viggy's been with us from January.
Pretty much day one.
We're happy with that. So there's a lot of good things going on, with us, we're looking to do, like I said, some other stuff when it comes to shows and everything. And it's exciting right now. And baseball is picking up the juice. We're going to flip on that game tonight in a little bit here. And our good friend Steve will text us how, the world is ending. And then I'll hear my brother screaming that the other end of the world is ending.
I want to give Steve a shout out. Like he was our guest, Steve Moses, a few weeks back. He is so passionate about the Yankees, but I say this to his face, one of the most negative people you'll speak to when it comes to the Yankees. And
that's Yankee fans.
He is a glass half empty guy, but he is so hard on them that if he would be a great manager because he wouldn't let anything slide. But Steve he listens to us all the time, so thank you, Steve.
Steve and my brother will text me almost the same exact messages at the same time. They both want Aaron Boone fired. They want Brian Cashman.
I felt bad. Cashman got booed yesterday at the ceremony. I don't. Yeah, it's New York.
You know how it is around here.
Not Cashman. Excuse me. The Hank's brother. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Hal got booed. Both Cashman did too. They both did. But
it's New York.
That's New York. When you win, you're loved forever. When you lose, forget it. Yeah. Think about Derek Jeter. People forget that I think he was 0 for 40 something at one point in his career. Like he couldn't get a hit. It was like a ridiculous 0 for. No one remembers that.
No
one even cared. I think when he was doing it, he'll get out of it. It's Jeter. It's all
right.
You know why? Because the guy won, and he won here at a high level, and he was the guy that led a lot of those teams to a lot of those win-making plays and having big hits and all the things that come along with winning. And when you do it in New York, you're always going to be considered one of the greatest athletes ever.
And I got a spotlight Patrick Ewing too. It's the same thing. It's the respect that's given for a player's career because he obviously missed that finger roll against the Pacers, still a dagger in my heart. But what Patrick Ewing brought to New York basketball when his number was retired, people remember just the leader that he was. And Vinny, we talk about this, that he didn't really have practically no all-stars around him. He carried that team himself. Have the utmost respect for Patrick and what he did for the team. And there were some frustrating years, but people just again, they look at the person's career and what they did for that organization. And the Derek Jeters and Patrick Ewings are prime examples of that.
Imagine if Patrick Ewing would have won a championship.
Oh,
I mean, he would be at a different level. He's already considered at a high level here. He would be at a whole other level. Mark Messier won all those Stanley Cups in Edmonton. He comes here in '94, wins the Stanley Cup. He's still considered like the greatest hockey player in the history of New York sports. That's just the way it is. It's, you win here and you're looked at, but when you're losing and things aren't going the right way, they treat you the same. They'll treat you the other way. And that's why you got to remember this team has not been in a World Series since 2009, hasn't won since then. It's, people are starting to look at it. It's been like the longest drought in their history of not being in a World Series, like all this stuff that comes along with it. And it's starting to add up. And, like I said, Garrett Cole's making $36 million a year. Giancarlo Stanton's making $30+ million a year. Those are the guys that are really going to take the brunt because they're the ones that are supposed to come in and do things. Everyone looks at Aaron Judge now and saying, are the Yankees going to pay him? Are they going to give him $36, $37, $40 million a year? Mark Malusis on FEN made a good point. Because the Yankees weren't serious about signing Aaron Judge when they made him that offer. If they were serious, they would have gave him $36 million a year.
This is true.
They weren't serious, and they were trying to see if he was going to make it through a full season and what kind of performance he did. And look at the year that he's put together. And now they put themselves in a situation where they're going to have to pay more years and more money than ever before, because they'll lose a lot of fan base if they A, don't make it to the World Series this year, and B, let Aaron Judge go. I mean, that would be a catastrophe. So, but I think we're running on time. I wanted to say one more thing.
Sure.
I just read this real quick. Bill Parcells turned 81 today. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing, because I didn't even put him there. That's crazy to me. Probably all those coaches, I'm sure, like Ditka and that generation, they're probably all around there.
Yeah, and he's the one guy that Giants and Jeff fans will both talk about at a very, very positive way.
Without a doubt. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So
it's hard to find a guy like that in New York that is, especially on the Giants and Jets, that looked at that way.
Yeah.
So, but with all that said, Mike, we got a game to watch.
We sure do. Let's get going.
And then Alex, again, he sent me this big apology. I told him, don't worry, we'll have him on another show. So, everyone, have a great night. And again, thanks for tuning in.
Till next time. Bye-bye.